On a chilling Halloween night in the quiet suburb of Willow Oaks, young Sarah found herself tasked with babysitting her neighbor's two young children, Timmy and Lucy. The neighborhood was known for its tranquility, but on this eerie night, an unexplainable fear lurked in the air. As the clock struck 8 p.m., Timmy and Lucy were already in bed, leaving Sarah alone in the dimly lit living room. The house seemed to groan and settle, the shadows growing longer as the night deepened. Halloween decorations adorned the porch, casting creepy silhouettes on the walls. With a nervous chuckle, Sarah tried to shake off the unease that settled in her gut. She decided to distract herself with a book, attempting to immerse herself in its pages and ignore the feeling that she was being watched. Hours passed, and the children were still sound asleep. The distant laughter of trick-or-treaters filled the air, accompanied by the rustling of leaves and the occasional gust of wind. Sarah's nerves were on edge, the atmosphere seemingly growing more oppressive by the minute. Suddenly, a knock at the front door made her jump. She cautiously approached the door, peering through the peephole. Outside stood a group of trick-or-treaters, their costumes disturbingly convincing. She felt a pang of unease, but decided to open the door nonetheless. "Trick or treat!" they chimed in unison, their masks concealing their true identities. Sarah smiled nervously and handed out candy. Just as she was about to close the door, she noticed their calculating eyes and their lingering gaze upon the dark interior of the house. Something felt off, but she dismissed her instincts as paranoia. Minutes later, another knock echoed through the house. Sarah's anxiety heightened, but she cautiously answered the door once more. This time, the group seemed larger, their masks more sinister. "Trick or treat," they repeated, their voices now a dissonant chant. Fear gnawed at her, but she held her ground, refusing to let her imagination run wild. She offered the candy and quickly shut the door. As midnight approached, a third knock reverberated through the house, louder and more ominous than before. Trembling, Sarah hesitated, but eventually steeled herself to open the door once more. To her horror, the group had multiplied, their masks now twisted into grotesque, contorted faces. Their eyes bore into her, devoid of any humanity. "Trick or treat," they hissed in unison, their voices unnaturally synchronized. Sarah's instincts screamed at her to lock the door and call for help. As she bolted the entrance shut, the group began to pound on the windows and scratch at the walls, their horrifying laughter filling the air. She grabbed her phone and called the police, desperately describing the nightmare unfolding. The pounding and scratching grew louder, shaking the house. Terrified and unsure if she would make it out alive, Sarah huddled in a corner, praying for the police to arrive. Halloween had taken a dark turn, plunging her into a nightmare that defied reason. The police arrived just in time to save her from the clutches of the sinister trick-or-treaters. But the fear she experienced that Halloween night would forever haunt her dreams. A reminder that even on a night of festivities, true terror can lurk just outside your door. On a moonlit Halloween night in the lively town of Crestwood, the annual Halloween masquerade was in full swing. The grand ballroom of the Crestwood mansion was adorned with flickering candles, intricate decorations, and an air of mysterious revelry. Among the attendees was Emily, a young woman dressed as a mysterious enchantress, her face concealed by a delicate mask. Amidst the vibrant celebration, Emily met a charming stranger named Victor, who wore a dashing vampire costume. The two hit it off, sharing laughter and stories as the night wore on. Victor seemed like a gentleman, and Emily was captivated by his charm. As the evening progressed, Victor suggested they take a walk in the moonlit garden, away from the bustling party. Intrigued, Emily agreed, and they ventured into the garden's secluded paths. The air was cool, and the moon cast an ethereal glow, adding to the enchantment of the night. Unbeknownst to Emily, Victor's intentions were far from innocent. He skillfully lured her away from the safety of the crowd, leading her deeper into the garden's maze-like trails. Emily's initial excitement turned to unease as she realized she was becoming increasingly isolated. Alarm bells rang in her mind, urging her to escape. She feigned a stumble, pulling away from Victor to regain her balance. Sensing her discomfort, he attempted to convince her to continue. But Emily was determined to leave. She quickened her pace, her heart racing as she navigated the intricate pathways, her eyes scanning for an exit. Panic began to set in as she realized she was lost within the labyrinth of the garden. As she frantically searched for a way out, she stumbled upon a hidden alcove. To her horror, she found herself face to face with a kidnapped woman, bound and gagged. Realizing the danger she was in, Emily had inadvertently uncovered Victor's sinister intentions. Terrified, she quickly freed the captive woman, and together they devised a plan to escape. Emily lent her cloak to the woman, disguising her as an enchantress, while they made their way through the garden. With stealth and determination, they avoided Victor, who continued his search for Emily. The two women emerged from the garden and found safety within the crowd, where Emily alerted the authorities. Victor was apprehended, and the truth about his nefarious plans came to light. The woman Emily had saved was forever grateful, and they formed a bond forged in the face of danger. That Halloween night, amidst the darkness and fear, Emily's courage prevailed, ensuring that evil did not triumph. It served as a chilling reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and sometimes the shadows that lurk behind the festivities can be more terrifying than any Halloween costume. Halloween night, 4 friends, Kyle, Mike, Lily, and Sarah, found themselves caught up in a series of ill-fated choices that would turn a night of mischief into a harrowing ordeal. Amidst the darkness and fog, they hatched a reckless plan to rob a nearby convenience store. The allure of Halloween and the thrill of danger intoxicated them, pushing them to execute their ill-conceived plot. Dressed in dark costumes, they stealthily approached the store, adrenaline coursing through their veins. As they broke in and began stealing, they were unaware that the store's silent alarm had been triggered. Moments later, the store's entrance was engulfed in flashing police lights, illuminating the eerie night. Panic surged through them, and they scrambled to escape. Kyle managed to slip through the back door, but the others were trapped. As sirens wailed, Mike, Lily, and Sarah ran in different directions, hoping to evade the approaching police. Mike dashed into a nearby cemetery, desperately searching for a place to hide amidst the tombstones and darkness. Lily found herself in an abandoned warehouse, concealing herself among the shadows. Sarah, trembling with fear, sought refuge in a derelict building. The police descended upon the area, their flashlights piercing the darkness as they scoured for the fleeing culprits. The night seemed to stretch on endlessly, the tension building with each passing moment. Hours passed, and exhaustion set in. The friends could hear the distant footsteps and chatter of the police officers, growing increasingly desperate to evade capture. The fear of being caught gnawed at them, turning their Halloween adventure into a nightmare. As dawn approached and the first light of day painted the sky, the police closed in on their hiding spots. Mike, Lily, and Sarah were eventually apprehended, their hearts heavy with defeat. Kyle, realizing the game was up, emerged from the shadows, surrendering to the inevitable. Their reckless Halloween escapade had come to a bitter end. The consequences of their actions weighed heavily on their shoulders as they faced the grim reality of the choices they had made. The sun rose, casting a haunting glow over the town, a stark contrast to the horrors of the night. As they were led away by the police, They were left to contemplate the price they had paid for their momentary lapse in judgment. A harsh lesson learned on a fateful Halloween night. Halloween night in the quiet, suburban neighborhood of Willow Creek. The Jacobs family eagerly set out for a night of trick-or-treating. Tim and Lisa, the parents, accompanied their two young children, Ethan and Molly, on an adventure that would soon descend into a horrifying nightmare. As they strolled through the neighborhood, laughter and excitement filled the air. The children gleefully collected candies, their costumes a testament to the Halloween spirit. The Jacobs family cherished this annual tradition, unaware of the terror awaiting them. On their way back home, they noticed a group of teenagers dressed as infamous slasher villains: Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, and Leatherface. Initially dismissing them as fellow trick-or-treaters, they continued on their way. However, a sense of unease crept over them as they realized the teens were following them. The eerie feeling amplified when the teens began mimicking the villains they were dressed as, chasing the family down the darkened street. Fear gnawed at the Jacobs family as they hurriedly reached their home, hoping to find safety within its walls. They bolted the doors and windows, but the relentless teens surrounded their house. Terrified and cornered, they huddled together in the living room, the children trembling with fear. Outside, the teens began to vandalize their property, smashing windows and scrawling menacing messages. Lisa called the police, her voice frantic as she described the horrifying situation. They desperately waited for help, praying for a swift resolution. Minutes later, the wail of sirens pierced the night, providing a glimmer of hope. The police arrived, prepared to confront the rogue teens. But what ensued was a nightmarish battle for survival. The teens, fueled by an unhinged aggression, attacked the officers. Chaos erupted as one of the teens brutally assaulted a police officer, incapacitating him. The family watched in horror as the situation escalated, realizing they were in a fight for their lives. In the face of imminent danger, the other officers were left with no choice. They opened fire on the crazed teens, their bullets finding their mark. The night grew still, the air heavy with the aftermath of the harrowing ordeal. The Jacobs family was safe, but the scars of that Halloween night would never fade. Willow Creek would forever remember the night when the monsters from horror stories came to life, a stark reminder that sometimes the true terror is not confined to the realms of imagination.